So today we're going to be covering a story from a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't found any information to say that the government's actually fixed the issue. So we're just going to roll with it and let the chips fall where they may. So coronavirus humiliation as school vouchers fail at till. So we've got a story about how people being given free school meal vouchers to take into supermarkets to buy food, and essentially the vouchers aren't working. And so this person here, Susan Bleo, it was embarrassing. Everyone was looking at us. Says the moment she tried to spend a free school meal voucher worth £45. After weeks of delays, her daughter's school vouchers had finally arrived and printed them out for her. But at the till with a trolley full of shopping, the voucher failed to scan. Endendered, which runs the government scheme to give people school vouchers worth £15 a week, say all the vouchers are valid. And so if you look at Endender's reviews here, they're at 1.6, and you've got one person saying you've been paid to give a voucher to people, and here you can see that their system is not working very well. And so I don't know who this company are. They look like a very small company. They've been given a very big job and a very big responsibility. And so it's pretty embarrassing that they've been given the role and central government can actually deal with it. But ever since it was set up in late March, the scheme has been beset by problems. The system was rebuilt over the Easter break, where the improvements were slow to take effect, with schools still struggling to log on, parents unable to download the vouchers, and some even saying the vouchers failed when they tried to spend them. So you got to imagine, you spend ages trying to get to the till. Maybe there's an outside queue because of the pandemic. You do a lot of shopping, and you get to the till and the voucher doesn't work. With the newly printed vouchers in her pocket, Susan and her 11-year-old daughter had taken the bus, so they're putting themselves even more at danger because they had to take public transport, especially in London, which is hella crowded, and queued outside before picking what they needed. They had everything, cheese, pizza, yogurt, smoothies. That sounds like a good dinner. But when they tried to use the voucher to pay, they wouldn't not scan. As the queue built up behind them, the cashier called the manager, who tried to enter the barcodes manually before pronouncing them faulty. All the shopping had to go back, and the pair had to leave empty-handed and disappointed. And so it's just stunning that this has happened. Like, this is not the hardest thing in the world to do. You're not the first and you won't be the last, Susan remembers one of the supermarket staff saying. So they obviously know this is a big issue in this part of London at least. So it was a Saturday, so all Susan could do was leave a message on the school voicemail and wait for replacement vouchers the following week. We had to live off what we had, which wasn't enough, but we had to cope, she says. Ralph Moss, their head teacher at Elsley Primary, who knows at least one other family member has happened to you. I can't imagine how distressing and embarrassing that must have been. I can't either, to be honest. I've had moments where I thought, have I forgot my card? But my card's there in my wallet. Like, if I forgot my card, I'd be mortified. Poor copy. So Tesco says it's not aware of a widespread issue when customers redeem their vouchers in stores. And Red, that company, insists every supermarket e-gift voucher it sends to parents is valid. The company suggests poor or damaged printed copies could be responsible for some of the failure. So they're saying there is clearly an issue here. So whether it gets issued when the parents or the school prints them out, or if there's an issue in transit. But many school leaders believe the issue is uncommon, and so people that work in schools, head teachers and whoever, they would be getting a lot of calls on the phone saying that their vouchers aren't working. This has happened to so many of our parents. Said one head on Twitter, and Martin Knowles, head of the ESSA Academy in Bolton, said 1 in 5 parents in receipt of the vouchers had problems at the till, and that's just crazy. He says the school is considering abandoning Edenin vouchers and setting up its own scheme at a cost of £8,500 a week. So the school is going to front the cost of this because this company, Red, can't do their job properly. Chiswick School in West London continues to hear from parents who redeem vouchers who do not work at the tills, according to the school business manager Danny Soho. Other school leaders from London, Cornwall and the West Midlands and the North East of England have also experienced problems. So this is clearly a national issue. Red has says it continues to make big improvements to the system and waited for schools. Red says it continues to make big improvements to its system, and waiting times for schools and families to log onto the site have almost been eliminated. And so clearly their site was not built for purpose in the first place. If there are any waiting times for logging in, man, I can log into League of Legends almost instantly, even though there's a pandemic and more people are playing. Come on, man, your website's meant to give people vulnerable parents help to pay for shopping. Come on. More than £52 million worth of e-gift vouchers have been issued to schools and families since the scheme was launched, with 16,500 schools signed up. It adds, the Department of Education says it is encouraging the schools to make their own arrangements and use Ed and Red where it's not possible. So the Department of Education has basically thrown Ed and Red under the bus to say that don't use them where you can, because clearly they're not very good at their job. Many heads are worried, but are worried about doing their own deals to provide schools to provide food or voucher, whether local catering supplies, direct to supermarkets, or with the vouchers suppliers such as Wandy. That doesn't make sense. Many heads are worried about doing their own food to provide food or vouchers, whether with local. Maybe they don't have the facilities to provide their own food supplies. I don't know. That's a bit of a strange paragraph. They believe their only option is to use Ed and Red as it's fully funded. If their budgets are in surplus, they will not be able to claim back the money they spend on alternatives. So basically, they're stuck in a place where they have to use this place because the government's already paid them, Ed and Red, or the government or the schools, and so the schools don't have the money to pick a different company, which is a joke, to be honest. Like, the school should do something. Indeed, guidance published by by the DFE last month limits the school's ability to claim back additional expenditure incurred because of the lockdown to those unable to meet the costs out of existing resources. So schools are not getting a lot of help in this pandemic, and we know that teachers are stretched already, because teaching digitally is way harder than teaching in person. Because you have to make sure more people are paying attention and things like that. You can't directly interact with students. It's a lot more difficult, especially when you have buggy internet connections. So here we can see the government's been pretty shambolic in the way it's dealt with parents getting free school meal vouchers. This one hits home especially for me because I know myself and some of my friends were reliant on free school meals during primary school and secondary school, and so the fact that the government's failed to actually help these people properly is a joke. And I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what the comments below. I know this is a slightly older story, but I haven't seen any actual evidence of this being fixed or resolved. So, the story's there. If I do see any updates, I'll update you guys. And like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.